Raphinha turned down Chelsea, he turned down Arsenal, he turned down more money, more stability, and a cleaner path to Champions League football. He chose instead to join a Barcelona side so broken financially that they were selling the rights to their own future television income just to keep operating. That decision is the whole story. Everything else is just what happened next. This is the real Raphinha at FC Barcelona, not the highlights version, the full one including the part where his doubters almost had a point. It didn't start in Spain, it started in West Yorkshire on a Tuesday night in October 2020. Leeds United had just come back to the Premier League after 16 years away. Marcelo Bielsa was the manager, a man who treats physical limits as a personal insult, and he needed a wide player who could survive the intensity he demanded from the first whistle of the first game. Leeds paid Rennes £17 million. That fee gets more embarrassing every single year. Raphinha didn't ask for time to settle. He played like someone who'd been waiting his entire career for a manager to finally demand this much from him. He dribbled past defenders with an almost casual contempt. He scored goals that had no business existing in a team that spent most of that season fighting, scrambling, and running until their legs gave out. His second season was when it became something bigger than football. Leeds in 2021-22 were in genuine survival crisis, selling players mid-season, losing form, running out of answers. Raphinha became their only consistent answer. He finished as the club's top scorer with 11 goals. His most important came on the final day of the season, a penalty against Brentford, a 2-1 win, and an entire club's Premier League future saved by one man in one moment. A £17 million Brazilian winger had just kept Leeds United alive. Chelsea and Arsenal were watching very closely. What followed that summer was one of the stranger decisions any footballer has made in the modern era. Chelsea made a serious offer. Arsenal made a serious offer. Both clubs had the financial muscle. Both clubs offered something Barcelona simply couldn't: stability, a functioning wage structure, and a squad that could actually be registered without a financial magic trick. Raphinha said no to all of it. Barcelona at that point were operating under restrictions so severe they couldn't register players they already had on their books. The club had sold portions of their future television rights, not once, but multiple times, just to create enough financial room to sign anyone at all. This was not a glamorous destination for an ambitious player at the peak of his market value. It was a calculated bet on pressure, expectation, and the weight of a shirt that Ronaldinho and then Neymar had worn before him. Raphinha paid approximately £55 million to accept that bet. He chose the chaos. He chose the shadow. And the shadow was enormous. Because here is what almost nobody paid attention to at the time. Ronaldinho had already said something publicly that reframed the entire conversation before it had properly started. He said comparing Raphinha to Neymar was simply wrong. They have different styles, different instincts, different ways of breaking a game open. Raphinha had everything needed to succeed at Barcelona, but not because he was the next version of anyone. Most people read that and assumed Ronaldinho was being diplomatic. He wasn't being diplomatic. He was being precise. Year one at Barcelona was honest. That's the most accurate word for it. Not a catastrophe. Not what anyone expected from a £55 million signing at a club with this history either. He scored in important matches. He showed the quality that Leeds fans had watched dominate the Premier League. There were moments of individual brilliance that reminded you exactly why Barcelona had restructured their finances to bring him in, but consistency wasn't there. The team around him was still being assembled piece by piece. Xavi's system was still finding its identity. And the Neymar comparison, which was always a lazy framework, got used like a measuring stick he was permanently falling short of. The doubters had ammunition. It wasn't a strong argument, but it wasn't nothing either. Then something shifted. It was gradual, and then it was sudden. The way these things always happen with players who are genuinely good rather than just talented. By his second full season, the inconsistency had gone. The goals came with regularity. The assists piled up alongside them. His understanding of what Xavi wanted stopped looking like someone following instructions and started looking like someone who had written the instructions himself. He wasn't a wide player trying to cut inside anymore. He was Barcelona's central attacking intelligence who happened to start on the wing. Other players started being compared to him. Read that sentence again. The man who'd spent 2 years being measured against Neymar was now the measuring stick. The metric had completely reversed. And the doubters, the ones who'd spent 18 months writing "he's no Neymar" in every comments section they could find, went very quiet. By the 2024-25 season, the conversation had moved so far from where it started that reading the old takes feels like looking at a different sport. Raphinha wasn't being asked anymore whether he could justify his fee or live inside Barcelona's Brazilian legacy. He was among the best players in world football. Full stop. No qualification. No for his age or considering the circumstances. The performances spoke directly and without hesitation. The shadow of Ronaldinho, the shadow of Neymar, the weight of every Brazilian who'd worn that shirt before him. It was gone. Not because those players had been forgotten, they hadn't been, but because Raphinha had built something so completely his own that no comparison held any weight anymore. Comparing him to Neymar at this point would be like comparing two completely different weather systems. Both capable of rearranging everything around them, fundamentally different forces. The comparison was never the point. Go back to that Ronaldinho quote now. He didn't say Raphinha was better than Neymar. He didn't say Raphinha was worse. He said the comparison was the wrong question. That the entire framework people were using to evaluate this player was broken from the first day it was applied. That football was so obsessed with finding the next version of something it already knew that it was blind to the original standing directly in front of it. Ronaldinho said that 4 years before it became obvious. 4 years before the numbers backed it up. 4 years before the doubters went quiet and the comparison merchants had to find someone else to misread. From a £17 million signing keeping a Yorkshire club alive in the cold of a May afternoon to one of the most dangerous players on the planet, performing under the Camp Nou lights like he was born for exactly this. That's the real story. And the man who saw it coming, he'd been right the entire time. We just weren't listening carefully enough. The question worth sitting with is this. If Raphinha had taken the easier road, if he'd signed for Chelsea or Arsenal and had 3 comfortable, productive seasons, does he ever become this player? Or did he need the chaos, the shadow, and the pressure to find out what he was actually made of?